Are you ready to take control of your wealth and design the life you envision for yourself and your family? Welcome to Wealth of Insight with Austyn Whittenberg from Whittenburg Wealth Partners. Austyn guides you through the entire planning process to help you build a plan that seeks to protect your financial future. He empowers you with creative investment opportunities and planning ideas to help you understand and achieve your long-term goals. It's time to gain confidence in your financial future. Now, on to the show.
Good to have you back for the Wealth of Insight. I'm Patrice Sikora with the host of this podcast, Austyn Whittenberg. Now this show, we're going to focus on the client experience from the first contact to a lifetime of service. Austyn, do potential clients usually call you first, or is it an email inquiry?
Yeah, about 90% of the time feels like there's just a quick email shot, or they hit our website and hit the contact us, and submit a request that way. Every once in a while, we do get a phone call from a potential client. And really, oftentimes we're getting emails or phone calls from strategic partners or current clients making an introduction.
And first, before we go on, what is the email address, just so people can get it here? We'll also have it at the end of the show.
Yeah, so you can email me directly. It's Austyn, AUSTYN, at WhittenbergWealth.com.
Tell me about the first meeting you have with a potential client. They've called you, they've emailed you. First of all, is it virtual or is it in person?
Yeah. So given the world that we're in today, we're doing both. We do have clients all over the country. So those meetings are typically always virtual. But if clients do want to meet us in person, we're happy to meet in our office. Whatever really makes it easiest for that client to make the time and be able to concentrate on the discussion.
So tell me again about the first meeting. They come in to see you or they Zoom in to see you. How do you start it and what do you do?
Yeah. So the first thing we like to reassure them is that everything we talk about is confidential in that meeting. We take our clients' privacy and confidentiality very serious. And typically most of those clients have maybe an accountant or a CP or an attorney, someone who's given them some level of financial advice. So we always like to discuss why then engage us as well. And the answer we feel is just to take their financial planning to its highest level. So we like to take a 30,000-foot view of their financial situation. Before we can give them solid advice, we need to know everything there is to know about them. So in the first meeting, we just get a cursory glance at here's what we have, here's what we're trying to accomplish. And that allows us to identify any coordination gaps or issues that exist in their plan. What we often find is that people have done different things at different times for different reasons from different advice, that they've received along the way. And it's our job to help them wrap their arms around all of it so they know the direction. So we spend a little bit of time getting the basic detail there. And then we start talking about any potential concerns or gaps we think they may have. We walk through what we call building a foundation for the what ifs. What happens if you die? What happens if you get disabled? What happens if you get divorced? How do we deal with stock market volatility? And what about taxes? How can we manage that effectively? We go from there to there may be some potential estate planning issues. Do they have a will and trust in place? Do they know how all that process works? And, once we go through those issues, that gives us at least a basis for a working relationship. That first meeting is really just making sure that we're the right fit to help them solve the problems that they have. At the end of that meeting, we then discuss the compensation, how that works, so that we want it to be transparent. We want everyone to know what's it going to cost and what am I going to get for that cost. Depending on questions from the client, the typical meeting is about 45 minutes to an hour. I have seen that meeting stretch to be an hour and a half or so if clients have a lot of questions, but typically you're looking at 45 minutes to an hour.
Actually, that's a good question. Meeting for the first time, do many clients have a lot of questions or do many clients simply sit back and say, I'm trying to absorb everything?
There's typically a handful of questions. As I mentioned, we want to talk about compensation. If they don't want to ask me how I get paid, I force them to ask me, because that is an important piece of all of this, right? Most of their questions do, though, revolve around, if I choose to hire you, now what happens next? And so we spend a decent amount of time, even in that first meeting, just talking about the process. And once we're hired, what process gets kicked off and how long is that going to take?
Do many people decide right immediately at that first meeting that, yes, you are a fit, or do they go home and think about it?
Most of the time they decide right in that meeting. And it's really, the thing that clients need is it's not some fancy investment portfolio or whatever. Can I find someone that I know, like, trust, and respect? And in that first hour meeting, we hope to convey to them that they can like, trust, and respect us, right? And that they will get to know us. And from there, it's typically an easy decision if we are a good fit or not for them, right, in that first meeting.
All right, you've had your first meeting. They've decided, yes, this is the fit. You are the people we want to use or work with. What's the next step?
As soon as we have that first meeting and they've agreed, I leave that meeting and it kicks off a series of emails to them. One of those is a financial planning contract. We have a contract in place that outlines the scope of the agreement. What areas are we going to cover for them? What is it that they're expected to do? And so that's the first step, to get a DocuSign planning agreement. And then we also kick off to them a data checklist where we're requesting info from them, tax returns, investment statements, life insurance statements, those types of things, so that we can get the details on some of the conversations we had in the first initial meeting. We also send them an email to set up a personal website for them. As I've mentioned many times, transparency is critical importance to us. And so each client has their own personal website where they can access their accounts at any time. So they get set up on that website. It also includes a secure document vault where they can provide some of these documents to us, like tax returns and those type of things, through that vault. Once the vault is set up and they've returned the documents to us, we then schedule the next meeting. And that next meeting is a data gathering meeting where we're going to take a deep dive after we've had a chance to review the documents they've sent us. In that meeting, there's certainly a quantitative discussion to that. What was your income? What are your expenses here? How much is in your investment accounts? Those types of things. But more importantly is the qualitative discussion. What are their hopes, their dreams, their vision, their values? What are they trying to accomplish with what they have today? And are they on the right track to accomplish those things? And so we really try to build out a total client profile, even to the stamp, down to the details of what's their favorite drink? What should we have for them in the office when they show up, right? Some of those types of things. So we spend, maybe 10 or 15 minutes on, okay, here's how much is in your investment accounts and here's how much life insurance you have. And we spend 45 minutes on, tell me about your relationship with money. What are the values you want to, pass down to future generations? What are your hopes and dreams for the future? And how can we help you accomplish those things? And that's a meeting that sometimes ends in tears, ends in a hug. It's at the end of that meeting, we want them to feel like we're there to help and that we're a partner in this together. That sort of sets the foundation for the rest of the plan. So after that data gathering meeting, we then move to plan presentations. We take from that meeting what we need, go back and work with our financial planning team to build them a financial plan that addresses their concerns. So we'll give them a letter or a plan that addresses their concerns with their business, insurance, investments, estate planning, all of those various areas.
Do you ever find that some clients are reluctant to give you the information you need? Do they have to be cajoled into doing it?
Not typically. Like I said, in that first meeting, we're trying to do more than anything, build trust in that first meeting. And so coming out of that first meeting, they know that we are there to protect them, to help them. And so they're willing at that point to give us whatever information it is that we're asking for. Typically, the hardest part is them finding it, whether it's,
Yes.
Their old insurance statements or things that they just haven't thought about or looked at in 5 or 10 years. And so sometimes there's some effort that has to go there, but we want them to feel safe and protected when they're with us.
I'm just curious, do you have a lot of clients come in who do not have a will who do not have a budget?
Yes, definitely. For sure on the estate planning, people don't like to think about their own death. And so that's one of those things that feels like it gets skipped over. So, and maybe that's a little bit age-based. The younger, 40 or younger, typically don't have any of that type of stuff done. 40 and over, there's something in place, but it may be just outdated. Haven't looked at it in a decade. And so even if they have it in place, we review it just to make sure it's current and stays up to date. If not, then we certainly encourage them to go get that done. And a lot of people just don't realize the importance of those documents and all the things that get laid out. And so we spend a fair bit of time just saying these are the real reasons why. It's not just about if you die, but what happens if you need medical care or you're incapacitated in some form or fashion. There's a lot of elements to those documents that we really encourage. So we really encourage people to get them done. And the budget question, very similar answer. For those that are just getting started out, they haven't thought about it much, but we help lay out sort of a cash flow plan. Even if a client already has a budget that they've prepared, we may make some tweaks and build them a cash flow plan so that there's a good use for every dollar that comes in the door. Some of it for fun, some of it for the future.
How long does it take to actually put together a plan, to develop a plan for a client?
On average, we're looking at, from that data gathering meeting, you're looking at probably 10 days on average to have all that stuff put together. Now that depends on the complexity of the client's financial situation. For business owners or for other high net worth families, it may take a little longer. For some of our younger clients, it's a little bit shorter. And then, so that's that, that leads us to the next meeting, which really is the plan presentation meeting, where we're going to sit with them either in our conference room or over Zoom and throw up their situation on the screen using some of our financial planning software. And we can show them, here's where you are today. If you just keep doing what you're doing, you're on track for all of these things we discussed. Or if they're not on track, if we make this change to your savings rate, or if we invest some of the cash you're sitting on so it's not losing its purchasing power to inflation, or if you work this long, or whatever change or whatever scenario they want to see, we can model for them in real time. So we can run through dozens of scenarios to try to help the client get a firm picture of what their future can look like. And that's, probably the most meaningful meeting that we have with clients as we're getting started, is helping them create a picture. We're not just handing them a book full of year by year cash flow and telling them good luck, but there's an actual visual representation of what their life can look like. And that encompasses all of their vision, their dreams, their goals. Are they funding their children's education or weddings or buying a new home, or, pinpointing, am I able to retire? Have I reached financial independence? So we're able to help in that meeting, help them gain a lot of clarity in what that future can look like.
How much shock do you see?
Yeah, a lot. There's always sort of an aha or light bulb where we can see the light go off in that client's eyes when they look at that picture and realize, hey, I am going to be okay. If I do these things, I'm going to be okay. And I can design the life that I want to live. Or I can help my kids maybe more than I thought I would be able to, whatever their goals and objectives are. And that's really what we're going for, is we want to see their eyes light up and that they know, hey, this is going to be okay. We just need to keep on the path that we're on.
The other way, somebody looks at it and goes, you mean I can't do that yet?
There's certainly a handful of that. We know that this is real life, that there are people behind the money that we're discussing, or, behind all of these things. And so there's certainly things that have to happen today that may or may not be in the best interest of the future financial plan, but that's life. And so what we'll try to do is, okay, we know these things need to happen today. It may not be perfect, but it is what it is. And let's figure out now how we can adjust the rest of the plan to compensate for that. So, but there needs to be a fair balance of fun today and future tomorrow, right? So I never want someone to feel like, hey, I've got to sit in my house with the lights off and eat top ramen in order to accomplish my financial objectives in the future. That's not fun for anybody. So there is this trade-off. And one of the benefits to doing this in real time and being, we typically update a plan like this at least once a year, if not more, depending on, if the client gets a new job or something major changes, then we pop back into the software and update. If not, we're at least looking at it on an annual basis. So if we can stay current with their situation, and we never want them to just feel like we're putting them on a budget, so to speak, right? That this is a collaborative relationship, and we're looking to just do what we can do to help them get on the right track.
Well, this brings up the question then, if you're updating this at least on an annual basis, how often do you get in touch with the clients? Do you just talk to them once a year?
Yeah. So typically coming out of this initial meeting, so in the first year that the client hires us, after we go through the plan, we get everything put in place, we get them the investments or insurance or whatever it is that we've discussed. We then set up just quarterly meetings in that first year. So we're going to get together on a quarterly basis, whether in person or over Zoom, to review the plan, review the investments. We need to be accountable to them for some of the decisions that we made certainly from an investment standpoint, but with the other elements of the plan as well. So we'll meet with them on a quarterly basis for the first year, till everybody feels comfortable. They know how to use the website that's been created, so they know how to see their accounts whenever they want. They have a good flow and a good feel for what this will look like. Then at that point, we discuss with them what makes the most sense. What do they feel best about? Some clients we continue on a quarterly basis. Others move to semi-annual. Typically, even if we're not meeting, we don't want a client to go longer than 90 days without at least being contacted. Quick 5-minute phone call from me or my assistant, just to make sure nothing major has changed that we need to know about. So we get sort of on that annual meeting the semi-annual meetings going forward. And I would say probably about 60% of our client base is more semi-annual. And we still have a handful that are quarterly. And again, that sort of gets laid out depending on the complexity of the client situation as well. Some people need more frequent communication. Others are okay with that semi-annual. And on top of those client meetings, each week I'm sending out an email to all of our clients that just gives a high-level overview of, hey, here's what's going on in the markets. Here's what's going on in Washington and with the political side of things. Here are a few things I think you need to know about what's going on. So each week they're getting a touch point there that's just giving them a high level, here's what's going on. And as a result of that, I may get 5 or 10 emails back of people who do want to meet because something has changed or just looking for even just a quick phone call. We want our clients to know that we're here, we're accessible. They can call, they don't have to wait for that scheduled meeting. They can call us if something comes up. We really feel strongly that communication has to go both ways. And if there's a high level of communication, there's going to be a high level of success with our relationship.
Are there any specific life events that you keep your eye out for?
There are a handful of life events that we always want to be aware of. First, if there's a death in the family, unfortunately, divorce happens. And if there's a divorce, that's something we want to be clued in on. But also some of the other things like, hey, our clients are off to college, or our kids are off to college. We had a new grandchild. Any of those, the change of job is certainly something that we always want to be involved in because that changes their financial plan. Certainly for business owner clients, we spend a lot of time, even if there's not going to be a sale of the business in the next year or 5 years, but just getting ready and having those conversations so that as the opportunity presents itself, we're ready. So those are probably, those are most of the key life events that we're looking for. And anytime something like that happens, we're hoping that they call us. If we notice it on Facebook or some other social media, we'll be proactive as well. But those are the type of changes that we can quickly and easily adjust the financial plan, just making sure that they're still on track for their initial goals that they laid out, or maybe their goals have changed based on some other life changes, and we can adjust that way as well.
Do you find that clients have gotten more proactive since the last downturn in the market? How are they more involved, or have they just decided to sit back and say, Austyn, take care of it for me?
It seems that's more of a personality trait in each people. There are definitely people who want to be more involved or have more frequent communication. And, quite honestly, in the world that we're in with the technology and the amount of information clients are consuming, we're more than happy to have frequent communications with our clients. So we are finding them to answer your initial question. There are certainly a handful that are being more proactive, want a higher level of communication and touch just to make sure that we're staying on top of the rapidly changing world.
This just about wraps it up. Is there something we have not mentioned in the client experience that you really want to make sure potential clients can anticipate and be aware of?
When we're going through that data gathering meeting, there's a topic that we discuss that I think is really important. And that's what we call the family legacy pyramid. And we have a little pyramid. I think there's a copy of it on our website that goes through whether, and we use this whether a client's worth $10 or $10 million, these concepts still apply. And the base of that foundation, we just want to help them answer the questions. Are they going to be okay with their current resources and current lifestyle? Are they going to be okay? Once we know they're going to be okay, we then move to the family. Are there family or business goals that they have that we want to make sure get taken care of? And lastly, the top of that pyramid is the community. We feel strongly about being able to help in the community. And so if they have charitable desires that they want to try to accomplish, we can help accomplish those as well. So that's part of that process. And those are the questions that we really just set out to answer for clients.
Austyn, how can listeners reach you? Tell us again.
Yeah, easiest ways to hit our website. There's a contact us button there, or contact us page there that you can enter in your information, and we will have someone reach out to you. You're also welcome to shoot me an email directly. That's Austyn, AUSTYN, at WhittenbergWealth.com.
All right, don't miss any episodes of Wealth of Insight. All you have to do is follow or subscribe to the podcast, and make sure to share with friends and family. I'm Patrice Sikora, and let's talk again later.
Thank you for listening to the Wealth of Insight podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos Wealth Partners and Whittenburg Wealth Partners are separate entities from LPL Financial. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Whittenburg Wealth Partners. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.